Hello, friends, and welcome back. And you know that in this playlist we are discussing about the solid dose principles. So one of the principles which is left is dependency inversion principle. Rest of the principles like single responsibility principle or open close principle, scope substitution principle, interface segregation principle. All these we have discussed. Now the last one remains, and this is known as the dependency inversion principle. So let me show you what does this principle says basically. This principle says that the high level classes should not be using the low level classes directly. There must be some abstraction layer. I repeat again, high level classes should not be directly using the low level classes. There must be some abstraction layer. What does this mean? This means that suppose you are writing an application, right? And in your application, you have written the high level classes. High level classes are those classes which directly calls, which just do the work. They just call the APIs, they just call the functions, they just create the objects, they just use those objects which can fulfill the objective. But they are not really doing the real work. Suppose you are writing a class, right? You are writing a class where you are storing some student record. Suppose we are creating a class whose name is student, right? Student record. So this is the name of the class. Okay, so this is the name of the class, student record. And this student record class is going to add some new student, MBA, MCA, BTech, any student. And it is going to maintain the record in the database. It is going to maintain the record in some files. It is going to maintain the record in somewhere else as well. It may be transferring the record over the network for some other purposes to some other authorities, right? So it is writing the records to the database, to the files. So all these things it is doing, student records, right? So on the top level, you know that this student record class we are using for all these purposes to keep the information for the student stored in the database, on the network, or in the form of some documents. So this student record, basically, from the name, it suggests that it must be doing everything, but no. When we are doing these things, like storing the record and all those things, we create some different classes. One class is like write to the database, DB writing. The other class may be the writing to the file. The other class may be the writing to the network. Somewhere over the network as well, you are storing the records, okay, in the raw files, anything. So all these things are handled under different classes. So these are the classes like DB, file, network handling. These are the classes which are actually performing the real task of storing the data. The real logic has been written inside these classes. A student record, this class is using these classes only to fulfill the purpose, right? A student record, it is going to use these classes to store the things in the database, in the files, or over the network. So anything. So these things are done by the student record class, but it is not actually doing it itself. It is taking the help of the real classes which are actually doing these activities, writing. Okay, so these classes which are actually doing the things, these classes are known as the low level classes. And this class which will be using these classes to get the required things done, this class is known as the high level class. So this principle says that you should not do this. I mean, I'm directly using the DB, I'm directly using the file, I'm directly using the network thing. In future, suppose someone says that you have to write on the printer as well. You have to send something on the printer as well, right? There will be one more class added. So when I will add one more class, then I need to redefine the definition, redefine the relation between the student record and the other classes, right? I need to readjust all these things. In the student record as well, there must be some functions where based on certain conditions like if else, if this is going to be stored in database, then do this. If it is going to be stored in the file system, do this. So all those things need to be defined for printer level as well. And there should be inside the student record as well, there should be some check that yes, now I'm going to write to the printer. So if I have to write to the printer, then what I need to do, I need to create another object of printer, and then I need to write to the print. So in this case, the management of the code or the maintenance of the code is not that easy. You will not be able to easily maintain this code where such kind of code are written, right? So what is said as per this principle, what is said that rather than directly using the low level classes, you should use a abstraction layer, which means that there should be an abstract class. You know the abstract class which cannot be instantiated, right? There should be an abstract class, and this abstract class should be inherited by the different classes, low level classes, like the DB writer, like the file writer, like the network writer, like the printer writer. All these classes need to be implemented through this, need to be implemented from this abstraction layer. The implementation should be depending upon this abstraction layer, right? So this implementation will be done under the writer now, not directly used by the student record. So student record, there should be, I'm writing SR. So this is student record, just a minute. This student record, this class will be just handling this writer class, right? So if you have to write something under the writer, what you need to do, you don't need to change anything. If a new requirement comes, then you don't need to change anything in your regular class, in the high level class. Rather, everything will depend upon the writer class. Writer class is an abstract class, so there will be no implementation. So whatever implementation will be there, that will only be in the low level class. Now this student record class will directly use this writer class, only one class, and it need to only do one relation. It need to define only one relation. It need to maintain only one relation with the writer class, right? So with the writer class, when this is dealing, then if you have to write to the file, then writer will create an object, writer is equal to new file writer, writer is equal to new DB writer, that way. And whatever writer it will be created, simply SR will call the function. Since this is the abstraction layer, there should be some method. That method must have been implemented by these different classes, right? Now where the advantage is that in future, if someone comes that I have to write somewhere else as well, so you doesn't need to change many things. You simply need to create a new class and need to inherit from the writer, and you need to implement that method which has been written inside the writer class as a method which can be overridden, right? So that method you just need to override here, and you can test only this class. No need to test entire system, but in this case entire system comes under the scrutiny, comes under the testing. It need to be tested when we are directly using the low level classes. So this was the principle which was very important, and most of the design principles, most of the design patterns are dependent upon this principle, dependency inversion principle. If you have understood this properly, you will understand that why the classes under the design pattern are written that way, because everywhere you will be able to see some abstraction layer whenever you will be looking into the design patterns, right? So this is the thing which we wanted to discuss under the dependency inversion principle. So I hope you must have understood this. So the basic concept of dependency inversion principle is that you should not directly use any class, low level class, from the high level class. There should be an abstraction layer, and the implementation should depend on the abstraction. Okay, whatever new class will be implemented, that should depend upon the abstraction, that should inherit from the abstraction layer only. So this way you will be able to make your code more manageable. So this principle is known as the dependency inversion principle. So I hope you must have understood it clearly, and from the next video you will see some examples that how we can see where we are violating the single responsibility principle, and how we can make our code to adhere to the single responsibility principle, and similarly for the other principles. So those things we are going to discuss in the coming video. So till then, have a nice day and bye bye, and please like and subscribe this video, and if you think that these videos are useful, please share with your friends, and please subscribe my channel and press the bell notification icon so that you can get the updates whenever I'm uploading some videos. Okay, so with this particular video comes to an end. We'll meet soon in the next video.